Hi, I wanted to jump on here and talk about the first essay, which of course is going to be due pretty soon. I read through your free writes and I put individual comments on each one as well as filled out the rubric. If you got full points for it, you're good to go. Move forward, of course, with that topic. If you're missing points, you need to see in the rubric where the points came from and then address that issue. And I just posted an announcement stating that you can, of course, regain those points. You just need to address that issue. I wanted to take a minute and look at this sample essay that I have from a previous student. It's also posted in the announcement, but I'm going to read through it with you and just point out a few things to hopefully give you a sense of what you should be doing with your essay. So here we have properly formatted MLA format, right? We have the name, my name, the class name. Use the date that you're turning the essay in. So this one's a couple years old. You can see it's the day, the month, and then the year, no commas. A good title. This one's Stimulating Creativity. It's in reference to, of course, the creative nature of a picture book. But please, go with something beyond essay one or essay one analysis of a picture book. You want to have something that catches the reader's attention, shows a little bit of creativity. And now let's take a look. I'm going to read through the introduction. A palace, a library, and a dirt track. These are all very different places, but in Jane Yolen's picture book, What to Do with a Box, the author shows that a simple box can bring these places to life in a child's hands. So that first sentence really is just an overview of what the book is. I don't have What to Do with a Box. I wish I did so I could show it to you, but the story is essentially some kid playing with a box, but of course imagination, which is a very popular topic in these children's picture books, allows the child to do so much more. Continuing on, the book's illustrations are colored and sketched by Chris Shaban. It was published by Creative Editions in 2016. This hardcover book measures 9.5 by 11 inches. The journey begins with two characters of the story opening the box on the very first page. As the story continues, the characters are transported to Paris, a forest, and even a prehistoric era. They can have a cup of tea and read inside the box. The young characters also get their adrenaline pumping through an intense dirt track course. The story ends with the character flying across the ocean blue sky after a long day in Paris. The book's message of an imaginative free play makes it appropriate for children 3 to 8 years old. Although a box typically does no more than contain objects, Yolen and Shaban's use of realistic sketches, perspective, and simple poetry remind young readers of the unlimited potential of creativity and imagination. That's the end of the introduction. This is a great introduction and it hits all the elements. We have the identification of the author, and in this case there's an author and an illustrator. Sometimes they're the same person, but not always. Lets us know when it was written, who's like the age range that it's appropriate for. Brief summary gives us the entire span of the book. With a picture book like this, you should be able to summarize it in just a couple sentences because these picture books do not have complex plots. So just a few sentences to take us through what happens in the book. And then, of course, the main idea that the imaginative power of a child's creativity or the creative power of a child's imagination, either way. And a lot of picture books are going to have, like I said, a very similar topic or theme that we see that the power of imagination, the power of friendship, the power of a family's love, right? These are all very popular topics, but imagination is almost always in there. And this is a great thesis statement, right? Although a box typically does no more than contain objects. Sorry, we have the main idea, or the main topic of the book, which is just this box. The authors, Yolen and Shaban's use of realistic sketches, perspective, and simple poetry remind young readers of the unlimited potential of creativity and imagination. When you go take a look at the announcement, you'll see I made reference to vague thesis statements that don't really contain a message. So I saw a couple thesis statements that are in the right track, the right format, saying things like the image and text emphasize the book's message, but then not identifying the book's message. This does that. This thesis statement does that. Now, this thesis statement limits itself by the use of realistic sketches, perspective, and simple poetry. By putting those three things in the thesis statement, you've now limited to that's what you have to talk about: the poetry, the perspective, and the sketches. And really, you shouldn't be talking about anything else. I usually encourage students to move beyond that 3 subtopic list in a thesis statement. This would have just been fine if it had said Yolen and Shaban's illustration and text remind young readers of the unlimited potential of creativity and imagination. And then, if you decide you're going to write about something beyond those 3 subtopics, it gives you the ability to do that without having to go back to the thesis statement. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the essay. Hold on. Okay, sorry, there was a little snafu there. All right, let's get into this first body paragraph. The box jumps to life with colorful, realistic sketches, reminding children that a fun time can be found within their imagination. So the first subtopic in the thesis statement was realistic sketches, so of course that's going to be the first body paragraph. Shaban uses warm tones of brown, red, yellow, and orange to set a warm, relaxing mood. The glossy dust jacket protecting the book feels as smooth as silk. I think that one's a little unnecessary. All books have dust jackets, and unless the dust jacket is significantly made of a significantly odd material, that's a little maybe stretching the descriptions a little bit. It depicts a young boy, girl, and their dog peeking out of a box, hinting at what is to come. This use of texture allows the box to stand out. The characters are brought to motion with multiple horizontal and diagonal lines coming together to create a sense of motion. And of course, you'll remember from your handout that there's discussion of the position of lines and what they mean, right? Like diagonal lines are usually a more dynamic character indicating action. Horizontal and vertical lines have meanings as well too. They always appear slanted to show they are moving throughout the pages. This prompts children to consider the various uses of a box that most children would hardly find amusing. At one point, the illustration shows the young girl peeking into the box and imagining a great palace. This gets the audience to generate their ideas as well. Even the boxes within the story are drawn with rigid edges and creases to show it's getting worn out from all the fun the children are having. The use of these shapes with each page appears to be pulled straight out of a cardboard box because there are stamps and stickers similar to those displayed on a package. These illustrations work to spark the imagination of young children and does so successfully by the use of line, color, and shades. Okay, a few things. Overall, it's a pretty good paragraph. It got a little off focus, especially this last sentence sounds almost like another thesis statement, right? It does it successfully by use of line, color, and shades. Those all honestly could have been broken up into individual paragraphs on their own, right? You could have a whole paragraph just about the lines in the book and the colors and the shades. But then, of course, you're going to be getting into a much longer essay, so you have to be careful about what you're going to focus on. A few places I thought that it could have been a bit stronger, right? This prompts the children to consider the various uses of a box most children would find hardly amusing. If I'm not looking at the book, and I have seen the book, so I know what they mean, but I imagine most of you haven't looked at this book, and so the writer hasn't told us yet all the different uses that they use the box for. So I would be cautious there, like getting ahead of yourself. All right, let's look at the next body paragraph. The story's illustrations use illustrations use of various perspectives stimulates motion and further pushes the imagination of a child. It's a good topic sentence because now we're going to be talking about the perspectives, right? The box takes up the entire 2 pages, creating a sense of depth and space. Again, is that on every page, or are they looking at one section specifically? The audience has an omniscient perspective of the children in some pages, meaning we can see everything, but extreme close-ups in other pages. For example, the children appear to be larger in some pages, such as when the young boy is reading quietly in his box. This places an emphasis on the boy and the book he is reading. When the young girl imagines the palace, she is placed in the corner as an audience is standing behind her. Toward the end of the story, the illustration creates a worm eye's view with the boy flying high in the air. These different perspectives work collectively to inspire children to place themselves within the book and share the characters' experiences. The use of multiple perspectives works to encourage children to use imagination to move and experience the same scenarios as the characters in the book. I think this paragraph is a bit stronger than the preceding paragraph. It shows how the illustration, especially that perspective, brings the young readers into the book so that they can be there along with the characters in it. So this, again, is just a really good example of focusing on one element, perspective, and how it will help the reader engage with the main idea. I'd like to scroll down. We don't need to look at every body paragraph to look at the conclusion. Children have always been taught to let their creativity run wild. You might want to say children are usually taught, or anytime you make an absolute, always, very few people always do something one way, even if it's children. So children are often taught to let their creativity run wild. Yolen and Shaban's What to Do with a Box stimulates interest in their audience's mind by reminding them of the potential journeys a box can take them on. The young children and their beloved dog took young readers on an adventure with a used cardboard box. The combination of subtle sketches and rhyme intertwined beautifully to remind children of the vast power of their imagination. It allows readers to be receptive to new ideas and to think creatively. It conveys a message of free play and imagination. Next time they encounter a box, these young readers will know the potential for fun play is at their fingertips. And that's a really good, very strong conclusion. Conclusions can often be very difficult because you're not supposed to introduce new material, but you don't want to just rephrase everything you've already said. So this is really good by saying what readers will do with what they've gotten from the book, right? So in the future, when readers encounter these topics, this is what they'll do. So that's good. A few things. One, we want to always talk about literature in the present tense, right? Literature never dies. So the young children and their beloved dog take young readers on an adventure with a used cardboard box. So just watch that verb tense. You always want to be in the present tense. Let's look at the works cited page. So you definitely need to have one. And you're going to cite for sure the picture book that you're working with. And then if you use any information from our textbook, you'll want to cite our textbook as the student did here. Make sure, though, that you also have, wherever you use that information in the essay, that you cited it in text. If you use the handout that I've provided on Canvas, make sure you cite that as well. And in the announcement I just posted, I gave you examples of how to do that. So here is exactly what a works cited page should look like. It should be the last page of your essay. It's not on the page with your writing, right? It goes to the next page. It's titled Works Cited, will be there centered. You don't need a new heading. I see that sometimes because if you make it as a separate document, sometimes students will put a whole new heading on it. You don't need that. You just need, of course, the running page number, which will be in the top right corner, which would be your last name and a page number. And it's going to be alphabetical by whatever the first word of the citation is, almost always an author's last name. So in this case, our textbook is Essentials of Children's Literature. So this is a standard book with an edition. It's in I've posted several links to MLA guides, one for the Al Purdue online, one for a page that I put together just on our Canvas site. And of course, you can always go to the Learning Center to get feedback on MLA if you're having trouble with that too. And then the picture book, right? Yolen Jane and Shaban Chris, What to Do with a Box. Little thing, right? The first name should be inverted like this, Yolen Jane, and then after that it's always standard, right? So it should have been Yolen Jane, no comma there, and Chris Shaban. Okay, so you don't, you only invert the first one. So overall, this is really strong. Again, you have this in the announcement. The copy that I gave you guys has my specific feedback and comments from when I graded it, so you can look at that. But overall, it's got a good structure. Use it as a guide. I'm going to make a separate video where I show you how to set up MLA format on your Word document, and I will post that as well if you'd like to take a look at it. Have a great day. Good luck with this essay. Remember, of course, that you can reach out to me to make an appointment to come in during my office hours.